Hello, good morning everybody out there and welcome to the newspaper review here on Newsbuster TV. My name is Jennifer Osu and it's good to have you with me this morning. Today's date is Friday, September 29, 2023. The year is practically racing but it's a good thing, well, for some. For others, it's been so many things, upheavals, but we always find a way to get by. All right, so straight to the papers and what they say. I'm starting with the Nigerian Tribune. Above the masthead, we see IATF, that's the Ondo State Deputy Governor and his case. APC's NWC sets up 9-man committee, moves to forestall an impeachment there. That story is on page 28. And on page 23, Versity accepts Shaibu's apology. It's been quite a bit of rancor there in those states, same deputy and governor issues. All right, and below the masthead, sorry about that, below. NEC wants states to carry out energy audit to determine needs, begs labor not to embark on strike, says excess crude account now $473.7 million. And the big story on pages 3 and 6, New Peng mobilizes members for October 3 strike. No agreements with federal government to suspend strike. That's coming from NLC. And respect court order, don't embark on strike. AGF urges the NLC. Yes, a court can make a ruling, but NLC has that right. They're representing not just one person, but all workers in Nigeria to make their demands known, to push home those demands. So I don't think the AGF is giving a very good legal advice there. All right, more stories still from the front page of the Tribune newspaper. On page 12, Abiodun Adebutu no fate tomorrow as tribunal delivers judgment. That's in Ogun State. On page 27, military destroys 34 illegal refining sites, arrests 459 suspects. 3 Lautech students die in lone accidents in Oshun. 5 hospitalized, a rather sad one there. It's on page 26. Kaduna Tribunal dismisses PDP's petition on page 29. And the PDP candidate says, I won, going on appeal. And Governor Sani, that's the APC governor there, says judgment is clear, affirmation of mandate given to me. And the picture there shows from the left, the Katsina State Governor Malam Diko Rada, Benue State Governor Reverend Hyacinth Alaya, and the Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mr. Zacchaeus Adedeji, at the National Economic Council meeting at the State House in Abuja yesterday. All right, from the Tribune, we're skipping on to the Vanguard newspaper. And from Vanguard this morning, above the masthead, we see inflation, manufacturers unsold goods up 45.4% to 272 billion naira. That you can get that on page 19. And still, Edo State news, to err is human, to forgive divine, says Obaseki as he accepts Shaibu's apology. Really, why will the governor not walk hand in hand with his deputy? Why is there so much politics in the politics? I mean, this governor, Lucky Shaibu, there have been so many allegations and aspersions being cast on his person, and pointers are seeing it that it's all in a bid to frustrate him trying to run for governorship in 2024 in Edo State. I mean, everybody has a right to come out to represent the people. No blackmail has to be used to coerce people to get out of their ambitions or intentions. But whatever the case is, I think peace is what is reigning right now between the governor and his deputy in Edo State. And in Lagos, on page 7, on the Oshodi Apapa Road situation, Lagos truckers Stakeholders meet as gridlock worsens. It's no easy route on that route. And the federal government has declared Monday, the 2nd of October, as a public holiday. As we all know, Independence Day comes up on Sunday, 1st of October. So because that day falls on a weekend, so the holiday is moved forward to Monday for all you who need to relax and take a break. Another one's coming. And an independence lecture, Vice President Kashim Shettima says, your sacrifices won't be in vain. That is a message to all Nigerians. And the big story from the Vanguard, why you can't go on strike, federal government tells NLC and the TUC, and says the strike will be a violation of a subsisting court order. And the National Executive Economic Council, NEC, appeals to Labour to suspend the planned strike and urges patience from Labour. Asks FG and Labour to continue negotiations at state levels. We have no agreement with federal government to suspend the strike. This coming from NLC, and says there is no scheduled meeting with the federal government. NUPENG directs drivers and tankers, petrol station attendants, others to comply with the October 3 strike. CSOs, rights activists set to enforce sit-at-home, describe petrol subsidy removal as self-serving policy of economic slavery. All right, you can get all those tidbits from page 5, Vanguard newspaper. And still on Mohbad's death, Naira Marley, one of the people who are having fingers been strongly pointed at, has spoken, and he says, I have no hand, or I had no hand in Mohbad's death. Live well and be happy. Death calls on us daily. These are reflections on human flourishing in Nigeria by Professor Laguda. That piece is on page 13. And still talking about main news, impeachment, succession fueling Akeredolu and deputy governor's rift that's coming from the council to the deputy governor. The picture there shows the 63rd Independence Anniversary lecture at the State House Banquet Hall yesterday. Pictured above are the Vice President Kashim Shettima, Secretary to the Government of the Federation George Akume, Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila, and the Head of Civil Service of the Federation Falashade Yemi Eson at the lecture. And we see Economic and Security Summit, Southeast Governors Leaders resolve to end insecurity. This meeting was held yesterday with not just the Southeastern governors, but also other people, a think tank of people from the Southeast, all bringing in their knowledge and suggestions and the way forward to end insecurity once and for all in the Southeast, because insecurity has really grinded the economic activities in the Southeast. It has toned down on people doing business, people going to school, people living freely, which is the basic thing. So I believe that meeting, a lot of ideas were given, came up, and hopefully they will be implemented so that the insecurity situation ceases to exist there. You can get that read on page 11. And looking at all the states and for the upcoming gubernatorial elections, INEC laments 241,715 Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo voters shun their PVCs. They're not interested in picking them up. Burkina Faso detains 4 officers after failed coup attempt. There was a coup attempt in Burkina Faso just yesterday. That story is on page 8. And of course, all the columns from all the there, so you can check anyone you like out. So those stories are from the Vanguard, and I've got The Nation. Above the masthead, tribunal dismisses PDP's petition in Kaduna poll, and the governor says my election upheld, and assure the PDP candidate is set to appeal on that case. And below the masthead, sit tight leadership read coups in Africa, says Don at Jonathan lecture. There's a lot of sense in that, truly. And the main story, government to TUC and NLC respect court order barring strike, as the AGF writes unions, Falana, DSS, the Inspector General of Police, the National Security Agency, and the National Security Advisor, and Labour says that that call for the strike not to hold is judicial terrorism and a breach of rights. And the highlights from that negotiation will be with states. That's the National Economic Council telling the NLC and TUC Tinubu's broadcast will address issues. New Peng, bank workers mobilize workers members. It's really going to be, a total shutdown. That is if conditional, if that strike eventually holds, because it will be indefinite. All the major sectors will be shut down. It's nothing for anybody to look forward to or to be happy about. What people are asking for is proper conditions of service, proper things that show that, hey, I'm working and there's something I have with me at the end of the day. So the government is saying the president will address different issues and concerns in his Independence Day broadcast. But at the end of the day, is it going to elevate or ameliorate the current economic situation? That is what we hope to see. All right, picture of the Independence Anniversary lecture there. And we see a picture of the Central Bank of Nigeria's governor, Olayemi Cardoso, saying financial reforms ready for unveiling. So much talk. So I hope there's a lot to do behind the talk. And how Southeast can overcome insecurity by governors and leaders. They say unity and economic growth is critical. And still talking about Nigeria's independence, why Nigerians should collaborate with the federal government. That was coming from the Vice President, Kashim Shettima. All right, those are the stories from The Nation this morning. And I've got The Punch here, another interesting paper. Above the masthead on Tinubu's academic record, Atiku asks court to overrule Tinubu's objection. You can get that on page 30. On page 21, telcos plan different tariffs for calls and data in states. I think it's going to be, a state by state kind of thing. But hey, we all buy data and airtime, so why should it differ what I use in Lagos to what somebody in maybe Osun State uses? Well, you can read more of that on page 21. And on page 27, the Central Bank of Nigeria will spend $3 billion loan to stabilize the economy. That's coming from the National Economic Council. I think that statement was also accredited to yesterday's independence lecture, which held in Abuja. So that money, if it's been looked at, I think if it is well channeled, properly channeled, it will make a long-lasting differential impact on our economy. But if these are just figures being mentioned, and at the end of the day, when it gets releases, a couple of people will fight for, their stakes there, then it might not just be worth it pumping that money into the economy. And below the masthead, the major story reads, indefinite strike. Labour protests as FG threatens union leaders with contempt charge. I think this is actually more inciting for the way the federal government is going about it, making threats to labor and saying a lot of things so that people will not freely express their rights. No, the federal government, that is so wrong. Please, 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 people are allowed to state their demands, to make known what they think is wrong. We do not live in a Gestapo-like society where you say things or you try to do things for reformation and you're clamped down upon. No, I think this is a democracy last time I checked and remember. And the writers from that story say, threats won't deter us, we are no cowards. That's what the TUC and TUC's vice president says. And government asks NLC to shall strike. And of course, the Attorney General of the Federation saying that the strike will be a contempt of court. How many people are you going to charge for that contempt? Because if the whole of Nigeria, all the workers decide that we are going on strike, how many people are you going to take to court? The federal government would only lose more credibility with Nigerians, because a lot of people are not going well with what is on ground. I mean, there's a popular phrase in the pidgin lingo. People are saying they're seeing Shege Pro Max and all that. So when people have come to terms with that and you are now making it seem as if they cannot truly and duly make demands, it's not going to be very savory at the end of the day. All right, we see pictures there. This is coming from Abuja, where the Minister of Works, Dave Umhai, locked out workers yesterday, and the workers in turn locked him up as well. And they cited hardship for the reason of that lateness. The nutshell of the story is that the governor of the Minister of Works and Housing, forgive me, Dave Umhai, said that workers would always have to turn up to work early, that they would not in any way join the strike that is meant to hold next week, and a lot of things that came out as clear blackmail, and these workers were not having any of it. They locked the minister in his office. It took a lot of intervention for his release and him addressing the workers, and finally he's come out to apologize, probably for his harshness. He has promised the workers more buses to help them and look into their matters particularly. All right, you can read more on that on page 29 from the Punch newspaper. And in Ogun State, APC PDP confident as tribunal rules on Saturday. So I don't know whose confidence will boost the whole proceedings more. In Osun State, 5 Lautech students and a driver were burned to death. You can read that on pages 4 and 5. And federal government targets wealthy Nigerians in new tax drive. That you can get that on page 27. And that's how I round it up with the newspaper review this week and this day here on Newsbuster TV. I hope you like my angle of sharing the stories and making a bit of analysis. It's a very healthy way to deliberate and push out some information to everybody out there. Like I said, thank you all once again for watching, and you can catch up with us and the latest news developments on our website, www.newsbusterng.com. You'll get fresh, informative stories always on our site. And on our social media handles, X and Facebook, you can share, like, make comments and recommendations. We definitely will get back to you, or you will hear from us. Then, of course, you're watching me from our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, share with people all around you, spread the news all about Newsbuster and the wonderful things we do and the great content we have. All right, for me, Jennifer, do enjoy your Independence weekend and your holiday off on Monday. I'll see you all next week. Bye now.